September 1938, Czechoslovakia. Adolf Hitler, the Chancellor of Germany, threatens to unleash a European war unless the Sudetenland, a border area of Czechoslovakia on which the ethnic German population lives, is ceded to Germany. The leaders of Britain, France, Italy and Germany hold a conference in Munich between the 29th and 30th of September 1938 and agree to the German annexation of the Sudetenland in exchange for a pledge of peace from Hitler. The Czechoslovaks are not even invited to this conference, and less than 6 months later, on the 15th of March 1939, in violation of the Munich Agreement, Nazi Germany invades and occupies the Czech provinces of Bohemia and Moravia. While the Czechs are appalled to see what is happening to their country, Sudeten Germans are greeting incoming German troops with cheers and the Nazi salute. In the following weeks and months, thousands of Sudeten Germans find jobs in the administration of the newly established Protectorate of Bohemia and Moravia, as well as in the Nazi oppressive machinery, such as the Gestapo. One of them is Herta Kašparova. Herta Kašparova was born on the 21st of June 1923 in Třešť, then part of Czechoslovakia. In the pre-war period, Třešť was an industrial center with about 5,000 inhabitants, predominantly Czechs, along with several dozen German and Jewish families. According to the memories of her friends and classmates, while growing up, Herta was attractive and kind-hearted. However, she was born with a club foot, and after a medical procedure, her calf was narrower, causing her to limp. Although Herta had many friends, she was unable to find a boyfriend in the mostly Czech town, as the man did not seek her out due to her physical condition. Herta also had a brother, Alois, who was 9 years older than her. Herta's mother Františka, who was of German nationality, taught her to speak fluent German. The nationality of her father, also named Alois, who worked as a train dispatcher, was never clear-cut. He sometimes identified as Czech and sometimes as German, depending on the situation. When the State Railways Directorate ordered him to work at another railway station in the Sudetenland, a border area of Czechoslovakia with an ethnic German majority, he went to the Directorate in Brno, where he pleaded to stay in Třešť because he did not feel German, but rather Czech. His request was granted. After the Munich Agreement of 1938, many ethnic Germans in Czechoslovakia welcomed the German annexation of the Sudetenland, and Herta's father, Alois Kaspar, who all of a sudden did not feel Czech but rather German, was one of them. On the 15th of March 1939, less than 6 months after the annexation of the Sudetenland, Nazi Germany invaded and occupied the remaining Czech parts of Czechoslovakia, establishing the Protectorate of Bohemia and Moravia, which in contrast to the Sudetenland consisted mainly of ethnic Czechs. It was in March 1939 when Herta's father Alois joined the Nazi Party, and from then on he officially identified as German. On the recommendation of the State Railways inspector, Alois placed a portrait of Adolf Hitler on his desk, to which he brought fresh flowers every day. According to post-war records, he held Hitler in high esteem. Immediately after the Nazis started to occupy the whole country, they passed new anti-Jewish laws, designed to exclude more than 118,000 Jews living in the Protectorate from society and restrict their livelihood. Their bank accounts were frozen, and they were forbidden to sell companies and real estate, which were confiscated and taken over by the Germans. In all, the Germans seized about $500 million worth of Jewish property in the Protectorate of Bohemia and Moravia. Due to her proficiency in the Czech language, Herta was among the many Sudeten Germans who secured employment in the administration of the Protectorate of Bohemia and Moravia, as well as within the Nazi repressive apparatus, including the Gestapo, the Nazi secret police. The Second World War began on the 1st of September 1939 when Nazi Germany invaded Poland. In February 1942, Herta started working at the criminal police in Jihlava, located around 16 kilometers from her hometown. She got the job thanks to her brother's recommendation, who also worked there. She was assigned to the card index department, where she recorded all investigated cases. These included property and violent offenses committed by both Czechs and Germans. In September 1942, Herta was transferred to the criminal police in Zlín, located in the southeastern part of Moravia, again working in the card index department. Occasionally, she also served as an interpreter when a German investigator did not speak Czech. If detained Czechs refused to confess, they were beaten by the local Germans. Initially, Herta was sent away so she would not have to witness the violence, but this later changed, and she remained in the room to witness the interrogations. She saw how the German investigators used bullwhips or thick wire on detainees, or tortured their genitals to force confessions. During this time, Herta's character began to change, and she became rough and brutal. In her post-war testimony, Herta was described by her mother as a gentle and obedient girl. However, after joining the local Gestapo, Herta changed significantly, as the beatings and torture of prisoners deeply affected her. In mid-April 1945, as it was clear that Germany would lose the war, Herta returned to her parents' house in Třešť. On the 5th of May 1945, the locals in Třešť received news of a Prague uprising. In response, they raised the Czechoslovak flag at the town hall and began arresting Germans, seizing their weapons and property as revenge for years of brutal Nazi oppression. That evening, a group of around 20 people also came to the Kašpar family apartment. They found an old shotgun and took the family's savings and jewelry. Herta had to watch as the Czech locals demolished their flat, threatened to kill her father, and rape her mother. All the German residents of the town were taken into custody, and some of them were subjected to verbal and physical violence. 2 days later, however, on the 7th of May 1945, the events in the town took a different course. Information about the uprising in Třešť reached the Gestapo and German army officials in the still Nazi-controlled town of Jihlava, located around 10 miles from Třešť. Later that same day, Gestapo officials and 2 squads of the German army, containing hundreds of soldiers, arrived in the town to liberate the imprisoned German population. Upon their arrival, the Nazis shot 13 people as a warning. 2 hours later, they continued the massacre and eventually took around 60 hostages, trying to extract information about who had organized the uprising and the imprisonment of local Germans. Because Herta knew some members of the Gestapo from her previous employment, she was subsequently asked to identify those who had conducted the search at their home. With a snap of her fingers, she began selecting the men, and in total, she selected 11. 10 of those she identified were soon shot in the courtyard of the town hall building, and the last, the 11th, had already been executed along with other captured men. It is speculated that some of them may have been chosen for reasons other than direct participation in the raid at their home, suggesting that her actions were motivated by personal revenge. For a long time, rumors circulated in the town that she deliberately took revenge, selecting those who had mocked her for her disability in childhood or those who had refused to date her. A total of 33 men were executed, the youngest of whom was 17 years old. With the liberated Germans, Herta left Třešť and settled in Gmünd, Austria, where she worked as a housemaid and later in the kitchen for the Soviet officers' staff. In February 1946, however, she was recognized, escorted back to Czechoslovakia, and was brought before an extraditionary court in Třešť on the 13th of September. She defended herself against the accusations by claiming that she did not know the selected men would be executed, but her lies did not help her escape justice. For collaborating with the Nazis and crimes against the Czech people, the court sentenced her to death by hanging, with the execution scheduled for 2 hours after the verdict was delivered. Herta requested an extension of the period to 3 hours to meet with her brother Alois, which the court granted. Her execution was held publicly and became a theater of horror. Thousands of people, including students from the local elementary school, showed up to witness Herta's execution. Because so many locals were interested in seeing the death of the most infamous Nazi collaborator in the town, tickets had to be sold. On the 13th of September 1946, when she was hanged, Herta was only 23 years old. The theatrical nature of the execution significantly contributed to the fact that the event became one of the last public executions carried out in Czechoslovakia. there were no tears shed for Herta Kašparova. Thanks for watching the World History channel. Be sure to like and subscribe, and click the bell notification icon so you don't miss our next episodes. We thank you, and we'll see you next time on the channel.